We interrupt this program for a special news bulletin.
Throws toward the corner of the end zone. It is intercepted! Intercepted! The Ducks have the ball!
To the end zone! Touchdown, Oregon! Mariota dives! Touchdown! They hand it off straight out! C.J. Burdell wins the game for Oregon!
Inside the 10! A hat-trick, a touchdown from Justin Herbert! Howard's going to run for it. Time runs out, and that'll do it! Welcome to the Big Ten, Oregon! They storm the field at Autzen!
All right, Duck fans, here we go. Welcome into another episode of the Ducks Rising podcast, sponsored by Backer. My name's Zachary and Neel. My co-host, Travis Rooke-Ley. Travis, what's up, man? How we doing?
Riding the highs of life.
Still riding high.
Just still consuming content like crazy. I feel like I barely taught anything yesterday, so don't fault me if I have any parents out there listening. But I don't know. That's just what I walked out of that stadium the other night, just thinking like it makes it all worth it. Days like that, gosh. So pretty special.
Yeah, that was one of those days for me, at least, where I had the pleasure of being on the field for the fourth quarter and overtime, and it was one of those times where it's like, you ever just take a second and like, wow, this is my life. Like, I'm getting paid to do this. This is insane. That like this is what I don't know what I did in my life that was the right decision to make this my job, but extremely grateful. Yeah, what a day, man. That was so fun.
It's one of those that, I mean, who knows where this season goes. We'll see what this win ultimately means, but it's going to be one of those games that you just look back on and are talking about, and that environment and was special, and I know we'll get into that and some other stuff, but it's just it's one of those that we're not going to forget for a long time.
Absolutely. We got a great episode coming up. We got Dan Rubenstein on with us once again. He was at the game as well. We're going to break down everything from this, spectacular event. Before we do that, though, I just want to give you all a quick preview of what to expect for this bye week. We have Jeff's film room. We actually just learned right when we're recording that is up. We have not seen it yet. I know we are both incredibly excited to see that. Should be a lot of fun. So by the time you are listening to this, that should be up. On Lockerverse, we will have a free preview out on YouTube and social media as well. But if you want to see the full thing, which you're going to want to see the full thing, head over to Lockerverse, ducksrising.com, sign up, become a member today. That should be a lot of fun.
Totally. We got a free trial going on right now. I know we'll put the link in the show notes, but something that we get that NIL is new to people and this changing world is new to people. So if you need a week to just hop in, check out our community. It's new. It's a little bit different than a typical message board. So we just invite you to check out that link in our bio, have access to stuff like Jeff, which to me is worth membership in itself. I think me and you probably agree with that. But I don't know. Days like Saturday were really special, obviously, for all Duck fans. But it was cool to be in the community that day and be a part of the gamer chat, be a part of the other conversations that are happening. So check that out. We'll put in the show notes. I know I've been posting on Twitter, our Ducks Rising account on Twitter. So hop in with us.
No excuses. It's free. Check it out. If you don't like it, get rid of it. That's fine. We've also got a really fun alumni corner coming later this week with Kenyon Barner. He was also at the game on Saturday. I had the chance to talk to him on the field in the midst of all of that chaos after the game. So I'm excited to talk to him. I think we were recording that on Friday, still nailing down a time, but that should be out, for this bye weekend, have something to listen to. So be sure to check out both of those things. But like I said at the top, we are going to have a fun interview with Dan. Before we get to that, Travis, can you tell me a little bit about Backer? I saw that you were wearing your Backer jacket at the game on Saturday.
Wearing the Backer jacket. You're rocking the Backer jacket now. Yeah, this podcast is sponsored by Backer. Backer is a new outerwear company founded by an Oregon alum, combining high-performance materials from the outdoor industry with a sleek Oregon look. As someone who grew up in Eugene, I know the value of high-end apparel on football Saturdays, summer hikes, and winter trips to the mountains. This gear checks every box. We encourage all Oregon fans to check out their amazing Oregon's jackets, hoodies, hats, and more at Backer. That's bckr.com. Use the code RISINGFREE for free expedited shipping, and 10% of all orders go back to Ducks Rising. Weather's changing a little bit. Time to put on a little long sleeve. We'll get into rainy season here soon, so I know we're just fired up about this sponsorship and encourage all Duck fans to check it out.
Absolutely. All right. enough of the housekeeping stuff. Let's get into our interview with Dan Rubenstein. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are joined today by our good friend Dan Rubenstein, back again. Thanks for coming on, Dan. How you doing?
I'm good. My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. The three of us were all at the game on Saturday. We got to experience Happy Valley and everything that was. Of course, we're going to break it all down for you. I think that it was a really fun time because we had different vantage points, all three of us. I mean, Dan, I know you were there with Ty, a Penn State fan. Travis,
yes.
I know that you were there with Oregon Duck fans, and if I know you, you weren't shy about that. I was up in the press box, obviously, and then I had the pleasure to be down on the field for the fourth quarter and overtime. So that was a very cool experience. I'm curious to, I want to start out just by talking to you guys. I would like to hear what this was like from your, vantage point. I'll start with you, Dan.
Loud. It was a loud, intense, admirable, very cool environment inside the stadium. I thought the fans were sensational. I was wearing a green Oregon shirt in a sea of tens of thousands of people in my section wearing white. Nobody was bad. Nobody was terrible. Everybody was pretty cool. People were cool in the tailgating areas. I have no complaints about any of the people at Penn State. They all seemed very excited for a big game, and I don't think there's bad blood in the way for Oregon that there is for Ohio State or Michigan. So everybody was just going into the game and during the game until it sort of went poorly the first few quarters for Penn State. Everybody was just kind of excited for that moment. So my experience was overwhelmingly positive. Now, it's a mess. State College is a mess. Getting around the tailgating area, which was very cool, it's very vast. And the stadium operations experience, if the actual in-game atmosphere is an A+, the in-stadium experience, just getting to your seat and getting to bathrooms and whatever, it's an F-. It's a terrible ordeal there. So hopefully they can get it fixed because I'm sure they're hearing about it. But otherwise, if you want my vantage point from how that game ended with Dylan Thieneman's interception in double overtime following Dante Moore's terrific play to throw that what became the game-winning touchdown pass, it was 111,000 people got dumped by the love of their life in the exact same millisecond and didn't see it coming, thought they were going to be together forever. So that was my vantage point, with just an alien spacecraft coming down and just sucking the oxygen out of Beaver Stadium. So that was pretty
Travis,
fun for me.
You agree?
Well, that's the interesting vantage point from being in the Penn State section versus the Oregon section, because
Totally.
we were near the bottom of the Oregon section, and that game, it kind of was similar to Ohio State last year, where it just ends in a millisecond. It's just you're feeling the stress, you're expecting this to come down to a 2-point conversion, and then the game's just drop dead over, and the Oregon section just erupts. So it was a party up there for the next 10 minutes. But then I'm looking at some of the video you posted, Zach, some of the other video I've seen from the field of just these pans to these huge sections of white, just dead quiet. Yeah. And that was the interesting flow throughout the game. I mean, I'm sure it was much louder, Dan, where you were, but
yes,
those fans were pretty frustrated for 3 quarters. I mean, we could hear it from up top after some of those 3 and outs and different offensive possessions. I mean, the boos, the Fire Franklin chant when I watched the rewatch.
From the student section,
That was loud over the TV. So that was some of the stuff we missed a little bit being up there, that on the rewatch I was like, wow, this was significant.
Yep.
Yeah, it was really interesting because, I'm, like you said, I was down on the field and able to take video right afterwards. I'm glad that I was able to take that video because I honestly, it was one of those moments where so much was happening. I almost kind of blacked out a little bit, and I watched the video. I was I was running on the field. I was next to Dan. I got to watch him let out this primal scream afterwards. It was wow, that was amazing. But it was just, it was complete chaos. I love that so much. And seeing the players celebrate, it seemed kind of loud still because we were in the corner where Oregon's fans were. Obviously the players were yelling, so I didn't experience the drop dead quiet like you might have, Dan. That's a
Sure.
really good perspective. But it was just one of those, like, yeah, it was comparable to Ohio State last year, where it's kind of like, wait, is it over? Oh my gosh, it's over. Like, I can't believe that just happened. It was just, there was real shock in the stadium.
Yeah, and it all happened in a flash, as Travis mentioned. The other thing, just like to tie it to the game itself, is the fans were in their seats an hour before kickoff. Like, all
least.
of them.
Yeah.
Yes, at least. And we went in like an hour and a half because we had heard that it's a mess trying to get in and navigating everything. The pregame stuff was incredible. The crowd was just going absolutely bonkers. And, you know, the whiteout, in terms of energy, intensity, whatever, it lives up to whatever you've heard about it, if not exceeds it. Which underscores how impressed I was with Dante Moore and the offensive line, and Will Stein and Dan Lanning and anybody else who had their fingerprints on this offense and preparation, because they came out and they didn't have any false starts on that first series or first couple series. They moved the ball. They were able to communicate through the chaos. And I thought it spoke to just an immense amount of preparation and confidence that these are the plays we're going to run. This is how you're going to communicate with your line. This is how the line's going to communicate with each other. This is how the receivers are going to be on the same page. This is how we think we can get some some relatively painless first downs early, and just, you know, moving the ball, going straight at the Penn State defense. Like, that was a criticism I think Oregon fans have had over the years, that, like, how does Oregon look starting these huge games, especially on the road, whether it's a bowl game, whether it's a game in Seattle, whatever. There have been those slow starts. The Pac-12 championship game against Washington that same season. And while Oregon didn't get in the end zone early, it wasn't a slow start. Oregon looked like the team that had better plan for this, and Penn State had a bye week. So that was super impressive.
Go ahead, Travis.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, the sheer, just to piggyback off your initial point, the sheer, like, spectacle of the environment around it, I thought that was the most impressive part to me of the environment. Was just, I mean, impressed by the buy-in of the fans, impressed by everything pregame, you could tell how much gratitude they just had for the fact that this was a night game. I think they hate
for sure
the big noon so much that they were just like, thank God they finally gave us a night game to, like, rev up to this and be excited for this. And I thought the fans were generous and courteous and, like, excited about the fact to have this game. And then, yeah, I mean, to your point, the operation and how clean that was. I know all of our good friend Jeff, like, shouted out how key, like, Poncho was in that. And I think that when we look at this year's team, a lot of people look at the fact that, well, you know, there's technically 4 out of 5 new guys on the O-line, but returning that guy in that position, I think, has been massive. And then you look at, you know, people say Dante Moore, new starter. Dante Moore hasn't been in this situation, but he's been with Stein for a while now. He's been in this system for a while now. And I'm thinking about how different that could have looked if you had, say, a Dylan Gabriel back there who just got into the system, was new to the system, had less familiarity with it. But I think that Dante's just time and comfortability, the poise just stood out, like, all night. I know we'll probably get to it in a little bit here, but just on the rewatch, but you could feel it in the stadium. He just never felt flustered. And that was, mind you, with not a whole lot of clean pockets.
No.
And so, I don't know. That just was so impressive to me.
And he also, by the way, Dante had been in the stadium for these huge games. Not that it's the same on the sideline as it is on the field, but this isn't walking in from high school. This isn't walking in from a small school never having experienced something huge. That he's been in Autzen for that Ohio State game, that he's been at the Rose Bowl, that he's been, you know, in the midst of the sort of mania. Now, nothing really compares to the whiteout in terms of what Dante Moore has seen in his career in terms of a road environment, but these types of stages, he wasn't confused as to what it was going to be like to be on the field for a big game. He was just the guy throwing the ball this time. That's a big difference, but this isn't foreign.
Yeah, I want to stick on Dante because I had this question. I mean, we knew that he was going to be good. Like, I had no questions that he was going to be good. I did not think he was going to be this good this quickly. Like, that's what impressed me so much in this game. Like, the throws he was making, his composure, it looked like a Tuesday practice for him out there. Like, he just was so calm and collected. You mentioned the game-winning touchdown pass he had in double overtime where he jukes out, denied Dennis Sutton, and then just kind of makes a sidearm throw to Gary Bryant. Like, it was just incredible what he was doing out there on the field. And just, you know, when you consider the magnitude of the moment, It's hard to put into words like how impressed I am. I'm just curious your thoughts on that.
It seemed like a preparation thing, right? That you play that much more confidently when you have a handle on what's going to happen on your side of things, that like he has a handle on the offensive line. He has a handle on the route tree. He has a handle on Penn State's defense, right? That he is not scrambling with chaos in his brain. He knows where guys are supposed to be. You look at where he was at UCLA. He obviously came in raw as a freshman quarterback because every freshman quarterback does, right? So with the benefit of time, where like the playbook becomes second nature, and then with the benefit of becoming the one all offseason, and Will Stein's comfort with what he can do and what he thrives doing becomes second nature. So everything is built around Dante Moore being comfortable. And so you can tell he put in the time and the coaches put in the time, and his ability and chemistry with the receivers has been developed, where he never seemed confused or overwhelmed by Penn State. And so, yes, obviously the ability to move in the pocket and make decisions to run and make decisions to avoid throwing it into what could be a painful interception, I think that's a preparation thing, right? That he is not overthinking the moment, and that there is such a clear degree of comfort that we've seen at times from Oregon quarterbacks, right? The best of Justin Herbert, the best of Marcus, the best of even Vernon Adams, right? The confidence in preparation. But to do it from the first snap here or as an Oregon Duck, I think it's crazy impressive.
And I think that to your point earlier, Dan, I know we had 3 points at halftime, and typically that would probably be called a slow start, but it didn't feel like the offense was super struggling moving the ball. It didn't feel like Dante was under siege. I know, Zach, we talked all week about the key of being in 3rd and 3 versus 3rd and 8, and I'd say for the most part all night we were like 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. We were ahead of the chains. We ran the ball pretty efficiently. So I think what that did for him was just like open up a lot of variability with the playbook, open up things he likes, open up some run pass options. He was able to scramble the ball a little bit on 3rd down. There were very few like 3rd and 11s. I know we got caught in a 3rd and 15 late because of that Harkey penalty where we had to kind of just
3rd and 20.
Throw a screen and give up in that situation, which is probably the right call. But like there were very few just like pin your ears back, 3rd and long situation. And that's what, running the ball effectively and putting your quarterback in advantageous situations does in that environment. So I think that was the huge key throughout the week. And clearly, 3rd and 4, a little quick slant to Sadiq, 3rd and 4, a little quick out to Gary Bryant. That's the type of stuff that makes your quarterback play successfully.
I also think, not to interrupt, but on that same point, the 3-all halftime thing, I think about this with basketball a lot too, that you look at a team that you're rooting against, or your own team, right? That like what Penn State was doing on offense to succeed was not going to work for 4 quarters against Oregon, right? That I think the offense played with a certain amount of confidence that like in that first half, the most successful things that Penn State was doing on offense was a broken play or Drew Aller throwing it to Nick Singleton after, the first 4 targets or whatever were covered up. There was the confidence that the Oregon offense could play with, knowing that they were moving the ball somewhat. The defense wasn't allowing anything, and Penn State wasn't showing an ability to like string together winning plays or winning drives. You're just not going to be able to improvise to Nick Singleton for 4 quarters and win this game. So I think that helps the offense play with their own confidence that like something's going to break in the second half.
Completely agree. And just real quick before we move on, to bring it back to Dante, I'm super excited to see what he does from here, because there's like comfortability, which you talked about, and then there's confidence, because now he's proven that he can do this on the biggest stage. I just want to see, I'm sure he's already confident in himself. He was before this game, but now proving it to the world and just putting it on tape that, yeah, I can go into this greatest environment in college football, if you want to call it that, and do this and play like this guy. I'm curious, just what does that do to his game moving forward? Looking at the game as a whole, what surprised you the most? We had so many questions about this team both teams going into the game. What did you go out of the game saying, wow, okay, that unit or that player, that coach, that really stepped up, and I'm not necessarily was expecting that? What was that for you?
It was Bear Alexander along the defensive line making the plays that he made. I was expecting, I think a lot of Oregon people going into the game, felt as if Penn State was going to try to run it down Oregon's throat. And with how Oregon had not struggled, but hadn't shown a top-flight ability to get off the field via really strong run defense earlier on in the season, that, that might be a thing that helps to control the game for Penn State. Oregon stopped the run, and you're going to have to trust me on this if you didn't watch the game and only watch the fourth quarter. They stopped the run really, really well those first 2.5, 3 quarters, right? They were setting up Penn State for a lot of passing downs via just completely closing down gaps and lanes. And so that was a worrying point for me going into the game. I think Oregon legs probably got a little bit wobbly as the game went on and as Penn State kept trying to hammer things on the ground. But for the most part, with how well on the inside, losing Derek Harmon, losing Jamari Caldwell, that Oregon was able to play in this spot against those running backs with an experienced offensive line for Penn State, that was a surprise to me. That Bear Alexander was great, both collapsing the pocket against the pass and holding up against the run. They were rotating in defensive linemen pretty often, and I think it was Tion Gray and Terrence Green, I believe, were the other guys who played a lot on the inside. That was a surprise to me. Given what Penn State was doing on defense, I knew Oregon wasn't going to try to challenge them all that much downfield with the 3 safety look. I knew that the game plan was going to be to sort of take what was given, but with the way that Oregon stepped up in the trenches in this game, it didn't surprise me, but it was very cool to see.
Yeah, on the Bear Alexander point, that's why you invest in a culture. That's why you invest in what Dan has built here. That's why you take a flyer on a guy like that who has a lot more to lose than we had to. We've got bodies there. If Bear hadn't shaken out, if Bear had, brought in some of the issues that other schools or other programs mention about him, we're probably in an okay spot. But he goes out and he killed 2 drives himself, just single-handedly, and that's maybe shapes a game. So I think that was huge. I think the rush defense is obviously the big point there. I think the other one is I cite the fact that I don't believe an Oregon DB gave up a reception in front of the line of scrimmage, which just speaks to these freshman DBs are pretty crazy. And I think back to Brandon Finney's recruitment where he almost went to Penn State on multiple occasions throughout last fall, and there was a lot of Oregon fans who kind of had given up on him. But, man, is that guy good. He's going to be a heck of a player. After the first half, I think Penn State just completely went away from him. For a true freshman to come into that environment and do that is pretty dang impressive.
By the way, on the other side, I don't think Iffy played after – I don't think he was the starting outside corner after the first 3 or 4 series. It was basically all Theron Johnson on the other side. I saw Iffy play a little bit of special teams. I think he was on the kick return team, I want to say, so it didn't seem like he was beat up. Maybe it was just a matchup thing, or they thought Theron would hold up better against the run if Penn State was going to shift in that direction. That was a little bit surprising to me after the start that Iffy had, but otherwise, I thought the corners were great. Obviously, the long touchdown catch was, I think Dylan Thieneman was lined up against him, and Lopa, I think, came in at the end. So it was not on a corner there. That was just a great matchup and a great throw and catch. But, corners were just nails.
And to that rush defense point, I think that a really under-discussed thing that's made a huge difference in that respect this year is Canada and Flowers and Thieneman and Lopa. They are getting off blocks. They are physical in the run game. That's been a huge worry in years past. That's we've struggled to get off blocks. We've struggled with the outside screen. Those guys hit. I thought Canada was so impressive. He is not a big guy. What's 5'10", probably 180 somewhere in there.
Yeah, use his leverage.
He's the smallest defensive back.
Yeah, and Singleton and Allen are not small guys.
No.
So that was really, really impressive to me.
I'm curious, do you guys think that the score accurately represented this game? You always, the theoretical, if they played this game 10 times, how many times do you think this is the outcome? I look at the scoreboard, after watching the game, for 3 quarters, Oregon, I think, I don't know about dominated, but largely controlled that game. Obviously, Penn State has the comeback, but when you look at the scoreboard and you kind of watch this from the box score, how do you think that accurately represented what you saw on the field?
I thought Oregon controlled the majority of the game, but obviously a lot of these games are going to come down in these big moments to whose legs are ready to go 4 full quarters. And, Penn State kept knocking, couldn't do anything on the ground for a majority of this game, but they stayed with it. Obviously, Drew Aller had that one huge pass for a touchdown. And, it is on Oregon that, you got to finish these drives, that Oregon's able to drive down the field, and whether it's, a missed fourth down conversion, a missed field goal, that there is something about finishing that Oregon wasn't able to do that left the door open for Penn State. So, look, I don't know how it was on TV. I don't know how it was on the press box, but I can tell you this. Surrounded by Penn State fans, as they came back, as they tied it with 30 seconds left, there was an unbelievable confidence that Oregon had given this game away and that Penn State was about to close it out. So my answer is yes, the score was accurate because Oregon didn't get lucky, but Oregon had to steal the momentum and energy out of this game to win the game, which is what a great team can do. But I'd be lying if I weren't sitting here and telling you in the stadium as Penn State got the ball back in second overtime, and preparing to drive the balls, like they're going to run straight at Oregon, and I don't know how Oregon is going to prevent a 2-point conversion after giving up that interception on their own 2-point conversion. Like, that game was set up for Penn State to win a losable game, and Oregon managed to make a huge play at the end and managed to have Dante Moore make a huge play to score that second overtime touchdown. But that was very clearly set up for Oregon to lose a winnable game.
Yeah, I mean, you felt a lot of 2023 kind of Washington vibes for a little
Sure.
bit there of like, heck, are some of these fourth down, lack of conversions in the first half, missed opportunities, false start on the first drive, other stuff like that. So there was definitely the feeling of that. But at the same time, I mean, I felt like when we went up 17-3 and Dan had the little preemptive throat strike there, I felt like Penn State was 1 3-and-out away from that crowd filing out, and we
Correct.
probably go down with all the momentum and maybe win that game 24-3. So, it was that's what made that drive frustrating. You're like, oh my gosh, you stop them all game, and then they go 4 plays in 1 minute.
I think there were backups in, too. I think there were a bunch of rotation players in for Oregon on defense that drive, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the game just flips, and that was the main drive that they really moved the ball. I mean, their last touchdown drive to tie the game was a grinder of a drive. I mean, multiple fourth downs. Like, we were almost off the field a bunch of times. It was really that one killer drive where it just looked like a completely different offense and defense from the flow of the rest of the game. So I think when you factor in the environment, Zach, and, like, being at Penn State, I think that that's what creates the toss-up. But if I'm thinking neutral site or we see them again in Eugene, I mean, I just think we're the better offense, we're the better defense, and we're far better coached.
Yeah, I completely agree. Dan, you know a Penn State fan very well.
I do.
If you're a Nittany Lion, yesterday, today, how are you feeling? I mean, I know that James Franklin came out yesterday and said that Jim Knowles was talking to the team about, Ohio State last year, we lost twice, and we went on to win the championship. Do you think Penn State fans really believe that after what they saw on Saturday? I mean, how are you feeling if you are a Penn State fan? How's Ty feeling?
I don't think they think that.
Okay.
I don't think they think that because if you were an Ohio State fan last year, you were still a believer in Will Howard. He performed super well in a very chaotic Autzen Stadium. He just happened to lose that game. You knew what they had on offense. You knew what they had on defense. Obviously, Oregon was able to move the ball, but you didn't come away from, if you were an Ohio State fan last year, thinking Oregon was in a different class. If you're a Penn State fan watching this game, you came away thinking that Dante Moore is in a different class than Drew Aller, and Drew Aller's played like 40 more games. So I don't think you can come away as a Penn State fan thinking this offense, as led by this version of Drew Aller, with this offensive coordinator, who I happen to think is very good, Andy Kotelnicki, is built to win big games. Because if you're thinking Penn State as a national title contender, you have to say they can win offensively in multiple ways. They can't. They just don't seem like they can. Teams can improve over time, but this is not Drew Aller's first season or even his second season starting. So I think if you're a Penn State fan, you sort of understand that the ceiling is what it's kind of always been for Penn State, which is we can have a really good team, but we're just not quite on that level. And that's what I think Penn State fans are thinking right now for the 50th time under James Franklin.
Yeah, I mean, you could feel it going into the game even. I mean, all the Penn State fans I talked to in the lead up Friday, we moseyed around campus Saturday before the game, was they felt a lot more confident in the environment they did in their quarterback.
Yes. Correct.
And so I don't know how you leave that game feeling any better about Drew Aller. And certainly the sentiments, it took a heck of a lot of time getting out of that stadium Saturday night and surrounded by a lot of white, and everything was all about Aller. It was Aller and Franklin. And I think you have a quarterback who hasn't proven he can win that one, and you have a coach who hasn't proven he can win that one. I don't know where your confidence comes from.
Yeah, and by the way, I'm standing next to Ty, and as he's watching Drew Aller, who he's watched a lot more than I have, he's saying to himself, or he's saying to me, Aller's running hot. And when he runs hot, right, when you feel like he's getting emotional, when he is really sort of jumping out of his own skin, that's when he pushes and gets a little bit ahead of his skis and makes a big mistake. The interception didn't have to happen right after he said that. I think he actually said that on maybe the last drive or something, and they didn't really throw that much. But he was like, when he starts getting this kind of juiced, that's when he makes that huge mistake. We saw it in the semifinal before, or in the middle of that drive to potentially win the game against Notre Dame, win or tie, I forget the moment. But and we obviously saw it right away, and Oregon had a great plan that Penn State fans knew. They're like, oh man, this version of Drew Aller is not something I'm looking forward to, and it came to pass.
Well, and it's no coincidence that 3 of the last, however many biggest games that Aller's played in, how have they ended? Against Oregon in the Big Ten championship game with an interception. Again, that semifinal with an interception. In this game with an interception. I think that's a great point by Ty that he does, sometimes that is what kind of gets him.
Yep.
God, that is literally his last 3 losses. Penn State's last 3 losses all ended with an Aller interception.
I didn't realize
that.
Yep.
Yeah,
same. I didn't put that all together, but yeah, you're right.
That's tough. Travis, do you have anything for Dan before we get him out of here?
I did get one question for you, Dan, and we kind of talked about it at the start, but just wanted to have you compare the experience at the Whiteout to any other big-time road environments you've been to. A lot of people have been asking about that, where it'd rank in your hierarchy. I've been thinking about this all the last 48 hours, but I feel like my experience just in the Oregon section, I'm like, was it as loud up there? I can't exactly tell, so I'm curious what you thought.
I thought it was incredible. To me, it's one of one. I haven't been to every huge game and every huge road environment, and certainly not as an Oregon fan. I've been to big Oregon games, but in the last 10, 15 years, a lot of those have been Rose Bowls or national championship games, right, where the crowd is a lot more split and the environment is a lot more difficult to get that kind of juice within. I've never been anywhere where I've been able to see such cohesive madness as what was on display in Happy Valley, right? That everybody knew what to dress, everybody knew when to cheer, and then so you sort of get the new with some of the newer music over the PA that was blaring, but also you get the marching band and the drum major and all the traditions beforehand, and so. Yes, you go. I've been to the Swamp. The Swamp is really loud. I've been to LSU at night. It wasn't a huge game. It was LSU South Carolina in 07 or 08 or something like that. It is a bonkers experience. I think I saw Florida Miami, which is obviously not Florida's biggest rival in the Swamp, but that was enormous. I've been to the Shoe for Ohio State, Penn State. It was impressive. It was not this. And so I have not been to a road environment for an Oregon game that coming. I've been to Oregon, Washington. Washington's fine. It's nice. It's not this. So, yeah, this is top of the top for me. And I never want to go back as an Oregon fan, as a neutral party, just because it was so difficult and such a pain. Fans were great. People were great. In stadium's great. But I'm happy to get out of there alive and having watched Oregon win that game.
I was talking to Jay Stu yesterday, and we were kind of talking about that as well. I've been to Augusta, I've been to the Masters. This was not that, obviously, as far as greatest sports moments I've ever seen or sports environments. But this is up there. The entire experience, what you said earlier, the tailgating, just the sheer magnitude. You kind of drive it in the middle of the nowhere, and then you drive over a hill, and it's oh, I see canopies and RVs as far as the eye can see. And then you walk in and the fans, the buy-in, they know when to chant every single thing. They know when to wave their pom-poms. It was just it was one of those days I couldn't believe what I was seeing with my own eyes. It's impressive to see that many people get on the same page at the same time.
By the way, I'm impressed with you guys because we spoke to a couple from Eugene who told us how they got to State College. It was flying from Eugene to Seattle to Philly to maybe Harrisburg before driving. They lost their luggage somewhere along the way.
Oh, gosh.
The husband said he was worried he was going to have to wear like the same underwear the whole trip. Before I was like, they have Target in Harrisburg, right? You can buy a pair of $8 underwear or something to last you a day. You can buy a 3-pack. It's not terribly pricey. And he was like, oh yeah, that makes sense. I don't know why I went that extreme. But I was impressed, like, to get from Oregon or the West Coast to State College. Like, I think the Penn State fans were impressed that people made that kind of trip to see this game. So, yeah, shout out and tip of the cap to anybody making that very specific journey.
Yeah, I think my ultimate compliment to Penn State was I found myself when we went into overtime, I was like, I borderline think if we win the toss here, we should just choose to go away from that student section. I like legitimately was thinking in my head, is this the only time in history I'm considering not deferring, but actually just going the other direction? And I mean, gosh, credit to Moore. You go down 7 there. That was as loud as I got to imagine that was the loudest point of the game.
By the
down
way,
7 OT, going into that student section, get down to a couple 4th downs. I mean, a couple of plays Dante made. That second down in like 7, like busted screen, and he just like rolled right, sidearm to Gary Bryant, moved the chains there. Like, that's the kind of stuff. I was like, oh my gosh.
To this moment, I have no idea how that was it Jamari Johnson who caught the little shovel pass in for the touchdown?
Shovel pass.
From my vantage point, I had great seats. I was like on the 45-yard line. We just stumbled in. We got very lucky. From my vantage point, and I've watched it on TV, I've watched everything. I have no idea how that got completed, why that was the play call, how Jamari Johnson was able to stumble into the end zone. I hated every moment of that other than the end result. And it looked like he caught it through a fence. Like, I'm wearing glasses. I can't see everything. I have no idea how that play unfolded successfully, and I'm grateful that it did.
It was
Did you guys think Dan was going to go for 2?
I would not have been surprised. I kind of like that he didn't. Like, he put trust in his players and his defense, and I don't know. I definitely would not have been surprised though.
I wouldn't have been surprised. I think they have enough plays at the ready to feel confident in one of them, but no, I didn't consider it in that moment, and maybe I should have, but no, I didn't think about it.
I was just convinced he was. I just thought the way I felt our defense was tired. They'd given up 3 straight. I was like, you have to go for 2 the next time anyways. I was like, I wonder if he's just going to go for the kill right here.
Well, he was on the Bussin' with the Boys podcast, I think yesterday, and they were talking about this. He was like, yeah, but then you saw what we did when we went for 2 the next time. They intercepted it. So if you wanted us to go for it on the first try, like, I guess maybe you were second guessing that afterwards. So.
Yep.
All right, well, let's wrap it up there. Dan, thank you so much for coming on to us with us and talking about this big game. We really appreciate it. Happy you got out of Happy Valley. Happy all of us got out there safely. Thanks again for coming on. We hope to do this again soon.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Dan.
All right, great stuff there with Dan. Really cool I love getting his perspective from the game too, because I saw what I saw, you saw what you saw. He had a different version of it too, and then he knows the Ducks as well as anyone. So always a great time talking with him.
He was in the belly of the beast. I'm surprised he didn't. I know that one photo's gone viral of the like single Duck fan in the number 1 green jersey. So it's too bad that wasn't Dan out there getting all the shouts.
That would have been hilarious.
No, it's been cool to see all the like different perspective based upon where people were in the stadium. I know us 3 obviously discussed that. So I think our first Airwaves question kind of just gives us a chance to answer that, but I know we asked Dan about how that environment shakes up and compares to other stadiums he's been to. Where would you say it ranks for you?
I mean, it's difficult because I think it's number 1, honestly. Like, I think I can say that was the coolest environment I've seen a game in, and I don't know that I don't want that to take anything away from Autzen, because last year Autzen versus Ohio State was amazing. I'm sure you've seen the Reddit post on Twitter that's going viral as well, that kind of describes the difference between what Happy Valley was versus what Autzen is, where Happy Valley is like Rudy. It's like this cinematic experience. Autzen is like Saw. Like it's just like a place for other teams to go die, and fans just kind of want to hurt you as much as they want themselves to be hurt. So I thought that was a great explanation. But the entire experience, the tailgating, just seeing the size of the whole thing, it was just amazing. Like I love Autzen to death. I think this was a cooler experience than what I've seen from Autzen, and that's just partly because it was new. Never seen this before. We've seen Autzen a million times in our lives, and so maybe that makes it a little bit lesser by some weird margin. But I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think as far as everything that goes into a game in an environment, I think that it's got to be 1A, 1B, whatever else is up there. I haven't been to all of them, but I think the fans getting in there early, the different types of like traditions and stuff that goes around with that, I think was pretty dang cool to see. So I think when you factor in all that, it's at the top of the list for me. I think when it comes to sheer noise, I'm having like a hard time comparing it. I know definitely. Kenyon, I saw an interview, so we got to ask him about it on Friday. I know Kenyon said he thought Ohio State last year was louder, and he was on the field for both.
I think that's cool.
So when it comes to like sheer noise, I mean, it was definitely up there. I mean, the loudest stadiums I can ever remember being in were just Autzen. I mean, it pains me to say it, but 2023 Washington was pretty dang loud. There's been some other road environments that were up there, but this was right there with it. Definitely louder than Ohio State, Michigan, and Wisconsin, which I've all been in recently.
Yeah, I mean, I was at the Ohio State game in 2021, was able to be on the field there in the fourth quarter too, and that was not this. Like, I have
definitely
no concerns that like that was louder than Penn State or louder than anything in Autzen. I also liked that at one point in the game they had like the decibel meter at Penn State, trying to see like how loud they can get. They're trying to break that record. I forget what the number was, but it did not get over the number that Autzen has got to as far as decibels. So if you want to look at the actual hard facts, and that's not perfectly scientific, because I'm sure that you can kind of juice those meters if you want to. But I'd be interested to hear what Kenyon says, because it was loud, but I think that we've heard maybe a little bit louder probably last year at Ohio State.
Yeah, looking forward to that. All right, next. Was there anything that didn't pan out the way you expected, or was there something that happened that you totally did not expect? For example, many people thought Penn State would be able to run the ball at will, but it turns out our interior D-line had another gear.
That's a good question. Yeah, definitely the defense, the run defense stepping up. I can't say enough about that. That was just amazing. That swung the entire game. I think I was maybe surprised that, we talked about it with Dan. It's not like Oregon's offense struggled in the first half, but the fact that they were not able to capitalize and put points on the board, that kind of took me by a little bit of surprise. I didn't think they'd have too tough of a time with Penn State's defense. Obviously, great defense, but I just thought as what we were seeing with our eyes didn't really match up with the scoreboard, if that makes sense. After seeing them, and you would have thought they'd put more points on the board, but that surprised me a little bit.
Yeah, I just felt like the first half we kind of just looked slower than I think of us. Credit to Penn State's defense, I think, for some of that. We were really inefficient on second and short, to be honest. I mean, we did a great job of getting to 2nd and 5, 2nd and 4, 2nd and 3, and then we were always in 3rd and 3, 3rd and 4. We did a really poor job, and I'm sure Stein would be the first to admit this, on 2nd and manageable, which just put us in some tougher situations that we didn't need to be in. So I think that surprised me a little bit. But yeah, I mean, just the lack of, we mentioned it with Dan, just the lack of efficiency in getting points, and our lack of ability to just exploit what I thought was a speed advantage surprised me for a while there. When we really started to lean on them, I think it was more physical than our speed getting to them.
It's almost like they were playing for those 3rd and shorts, though. I know, obviously, if it's 2nd and 6 and you can pick up a first down, you're going to pick up a first down instead of trying to get a 3rd and 1. But the amount of times they found themselves in those positions is almost that was part of their game plan. I'd be really curious to see what their plan was. Obviously, they were fine with getting to those distances and getting to 4th and short ultimately, but that was a really interesting game plan because they weren't taking shots. It seemed like they were just totally fine, keeping it on the ground, staying conservative. They kind of took Penn State's offensive playbook and were like, all right, yeah, we can win this way. We're going to grind you out. We're not going to take shots. We're not going to use our speed on the outside. We're just going to run the ball at you and control the clock.
Yep. Yeah. I think that was the huge part of first down. I mean, we talked about it all week. We talked about it again with Dan, just being in advantageous situations where Stein could be multiple, Dante was comfortable, and you could see that when we finally got to the third quarter and got some points. I have my own bonus.
Before you move on, one other thing that really surprised me is just the fact that the noise wasn't really a factor. Like, that, I think, was just so impressive to me. Like, I think we had beliefs and hopes that it would be that way, but for it actually to pan out and for Dante to look at that composed and the offensive line to have no penalties, like 2 false starts, but they were on tight ends. That was just like, I can't give enough kudos for that.
What were you thinking on 4th and 1? Did you want them to kick?
Which one?
When we had the 4th and 1 when we were up 10-3. And Davison ran it in, we went for it. I was yelling to kick.
Yeah,
I will completely own it, but I was like, man, we are dominating. You got to go up 10. I think it was just the Washington 2023 in me, just like, take the points, take the points, take the points. But obviously, like, I mean, I love the fact that we not only went for it in hindsight, but we just ran right at them.
Right through the middle, scored. I tweeted at the time, I was like, I think they should kick this. I don't think they will. And then after they scored, I quote tweeted, I was like, that's why Dan Lanning is Dan Lanning, and that's why I write about Dan Lanning and I don't write about me. Like, we're different people.
Well, and a bunch of people had that say. I was looking back at, like, Ari Wasserman, a bunch of these national guys, like, you got to kick here. And then their quote tweet response is like, I love Dan Lanning.
He's insane, man.
Yeah. All right, last one here, which we kind of got into a little bit, but it's kind of taken in a different direction. What does the Dante discussion look like heading into the second half of the season? Is he as good as gone?
I don't know, man. That's such a hard discussion.
So I'll chime in here because I just read Bruce Feldman just put out an Athletic piece this morning.
I have not read it yet. I've got it bookmarked.
So I only saw a couple quotes from it so far. I haven't read the whole thing, but the part that I have also heard myself that he touches on is that the plan all along for Dante has been to stay for 2 years. And I think that he sees value in that, and it sounds like the people around him see value in that. They mentioned, like, comparing him to Jaden Daniels and how he was able to step into the NFL and have success. Obviously, the staff is going to compare it to a Bo Nix and the success that he's had. So I think we have some built-in things that are working in our advantage. The question is just going to be, I think you can make a compelling argument if he's projected to be the 20th pick. If he's projected to be the 3rd pick or the 1st pick.
The 1st pick. If he wins the Heisman.
Yeah. So that's a hard sell, but ultimately, I mean, I think the question for Dante is going to be, like, what does he care about more? Where he's picked and the money he's going to get, or is he just fully dead set on, like, I want to be prepared to have success in the NFL? And especially, being the 1st or 3rd pick is, sounds great, but you're walking in and you're the quarterback of the...
Go to the Raiders? Oh, thank you.
I mean, so thankfully, I think the maturity Moore showed with not only his decision to come here and sit for a year, but has shown throughout this process, I think just gives me some hope, but it's definitely tracking to be a lot more in play than I expected at the start of the year.
Yeah, I'm sure you have too, been asked that question a lot over the past, couple days and couple weeks, just like, is he going to stay? Is this our only year with him? I've been saying consistently, like, everything points to him leaving. Like, that'd be the easy thing for him to do. He could be a top 10, top 5 pick and go get paid, and no one could blame him. I just have a gut feeling that he's going to stay. This is a kid who has done it the hard way, and I mean that in the best way possible. Like, he's taken the hard route to better himself and develop every step of the way. I think that, like you said, I think he values that. I think he values having that experience and having those starts. This is a guy that, thankfully, because of NIL, I don't think he's hurting for cash right now at Oregon. I don't think he's someone that needs that payday from the NFL to be comfortable. I think he's someone that, they always talk about, what's that second contract in the NFL, not that first contract. That second one is what counts. And if staying another year allows him a better opportunity to get that second contract, to get that Justin Herbert highest paid quarterback in the league at some point, that's what matters. And he's got the mentality and the temperament of someone who it doesn't seem like he cares about that, he seems to be having a ton of fun. Obviously that helps when you're playing really well and doing what he's doing on a big stage, but he doesn't seem like he's in a hurry to leave at all. So that's what gives me confidence. I'm still incredibly nervous about it just because I want him back so bad. I don't remember a time that it's hard to separate fandom from like professionalism for me. I don't remember a time that I've loved an Oregon quarterback this much. Like Herbert, I think we got close because he was so lovable and the Eugene kid, but he didn't have quite the success to like get you over the top to this level. Mariota, obviously, like every fan was bought in. I think Dante is getting close to that Marcus level of buy-in from fans. Like, he's not there yet, but if he continues down this road, he's going to be kind of he's going to threaten for that King of Eugene, that crown that Marcus has and will always have because of the Heisman. But he's getting up there, I think.
Yeah, I think there's going to be a good chunk of factors that go into it, and obviously we'll see how this season shakes out when it comes to not only the individual stuff around him, but obviously where the team goes. I know there's a lot of discussion around, how next year amazing this year could be, but how next year really shapes up in a lot of ways roster-wise to be like that year, and how well can you kind of bring back your team a la what Penn State tried to do this year, but Ohio State and Michigan have done in years past, and obviously Moore would be a linchpin to that staying together, and I think the selling point towards getting a bunch of other guys back with him. So I don't know. I mean, we'll see. It's just there's so much variability with what NFL teams are going to be picking near the top, what situations are advantageous, how prepared he feels like he is, what he sees here. What I'm confident in is just like, I think from all indications, the people around him that are going to help him make this decision, like, are not the type of people who are just going to like jump at a bag or jump at an NFL opportunity, which some are. And some family situations need that, and some guys need to make decisions but it sounds like that's not going to be the case. So that gives me some confidence as well.
Yeah, he's going to make the right decision. I don't know what the right decision is right now. He doesn't either, I'm sure, but I've got no qualms about that, no concerns. I'm curious for you, like, I don't want to look too far ahead. Obviously, we're just, by a week, we're afforded this opportunity to kind of take a bigger picture look at things. How has your preseason expectations or predictions changed from then until now?
I mean, I thought this team would go 11-1, and even though I picked them to technically lose to Penn State before the season, I mentioned I thought we were better. I just thought maybe the environment leads to a loss. I look at the rest of the schedule, and it's certainly manageable. I have a hard time seeing us not be in that Big Ten title game, which maybe that's not even an advantage to be playing in that.
Yeah, totally.
But I just think as much confidence this team had, given its youth going into this game, like the amount they're going to have coming out of it, going into, some
Another
other
big
tough, couple big games at home, a couple other tough road environments, but nothing compared to this. I got to imagine that gives the team confidence going into an Iowa or going at Washington is like, hey, we went into the whiteout at night and handled our business. Like, we got a quiet confidence about ourselves going there. So I know we're second in the title odds right now. I know Moore's your new Heisman favorite. I mean, I don't see any reason why we don't have every chance to be right there at the end.
What would constitute a failure for this season for you now? Because for me, going into it before, like, it would have been like not making the playoff would have been a failure. I think they should have won at least one game in the playoff. Anything short of that, I think I would have been frustrated / disappointed with. I think that's changed a little bit for me now. I'm curious what your thoughts are.
Yeah, I think going in, we had to win a playoff game. And I think now, given, I would be surprised if we're not one of those top 4 seeds. Win or lose that Big Ten title game, I think you're still a top 4 seed. So given we're a top 4, I think we need to make the semis. I really do. I mean, you're going to have a bye on that. So we're basically in the same point. I mean, you need to win a playoff game. I think if we're a top 4 seed, then you're going to have a semi game like we did last year. If you win the Big Ten title game, it's going to be in the Rose Bowl. If you don't, it's going to be at another neutral against a good team. But who have you seen that truly scares you? I mean, I know a lot of Duck fans are afraid of Ohio State, and their defense looks really dang good. And I am by no means confident playing them, but I think we can compete. I think their offense is young, and I'd take Moore over saying every day of the week. So
totally. And that was the question coming into this year. I mean, and a legitimate one, because Moore hadn't proven himself, Sayan hadn't proven himself. They're both 5-star kids, but after what we've seen so far, I am completely confident that Moore is the better quarterback. I would rather have him 10 days out of 10.
Well, I think the question that we'll get to come the playoff is there a quarterback you'd take over him in a game? And when you have the better quarterback, you're in a pretty good spot when it comes to games like that, when the rest of the matchup is pretty even across the board. So I don't know. There were, a lot of these SEC quarterbacks were getting a lot of praise coming into the year. I don't think they've looked bad, but it's not like there's this big scary either super team like Ohio State or this crazy scary quarterback that we've seen in years past where you're like, oh gosh, we're going up against this guy.
The only one I could even see being in the conversation is John Mateer, if he's fully healthy, because I think he's a very solid player, a good dynamic dual threat player. But, Gunnar Stockton, no. Carson Beck, no. Julian Sayin, I think he could be really good. I, again, think I'd rather have Dante. Ty Simpson, no.
I actually
I'm
think
taking
that's...
Dante. You think it's Ty?
Well, I don't know that I take Ty, but if you ask me what team right now would I be most afraid to play in the playoff, it honestly might be Bama. There's something about it. It's just I know he scares me. He has success over.
He's a good
it's
coach.
That Lanning smart defense that he actually cooks on. He's had a ton of success against Kirby, success against Lanning. And their roster is still what Saban built. I mean, their roster is as good as anyone in the country. So I think if he keeps playing at this level, that's no thanks. They can stay on the other side of the bracket.
Yeah, I agree. Any other questions? I don't know. We're kind of in free-flowing time of this podcast. Anything else coming to your mind? There's so much to talk about. I feel like we could go another hour long.
Yeah, seriously. No, I mean, I think just...
What are your early thoughts for next week?
Indiana?
Any concern? I mean, Kurt Cignetti is one of those coaches.
I think there is some. Yeah. I think Duck fans would be foolish to just expect them to roll over. I think you can easily draw the corollary to Illinois last year. I think you could say okay, after the Ohio State win, you got the kind of plucky team coming in. I don't quite equate the two. I think Illinois' offense is a little more limited than Indiana. I think Indiana is more creative. They have more playmakers. I think they'll test us a little bit on that side of the ball. They can get after the passer a little bit. I think it's the type of game where if there's any letdown, if there's sloppiness, if there's stuff like that, it is a game right away. I like what they do offensively. I think they'll challenge us offensively way more than Penn State did, to be honest. Totally. So I think it's a big assignment for our defense.
I'm interested with Dan too. I'm so excited to see the confidence that this team plays with now. Because I mean, if you can win at Penn State, beat Penn State in that environment, you can beat anyone in the nation. I totally feel that they can do that. I think they'd be favored against anyone in the nation on a neutral field. Now coming back home and getting a chance. I mean, Dan's message to this team before the season was double down. Got a chance to double down right now. You just show what you can do on the road in that environment. Now you get to come home and host a top 10 team, potentially game day there. I think game day will probably go to the Red River rivalry, but still a huge game. All right, you show what you can do, prove it again. And I think this team will be ready to do that. It's going to be a fun game, man. I think that Kurt and Dan are both very entertaining coaches. I'm excited to see what quotes come out before that game, just because both of them are so fiery. I've got a ton of respect for Kurt Cignetti. I think he's an awesome coach. Obviously, the proof is in the pudding. He can get his guys to play. That's how lucky are we? We get to go right in from Penn State, bye week to rest up, and then another top 10 game this time at Autzen. I know you're happy about the game time. You get to be at the game, so it should be a lot of fun.
Tight there. Yeah, it'll be fun. The thing I am bar none most excited to watch is I think this is finally the time when we're facing an offense where you're going to see our DBs like really get thrown at. So I'm just excited to see Iffy and Finney and Laulea, Theron Johnson I know is playing well. I'm just excited to see these guys get tested a little bit because it's going to be a real challenge and just see how they hold up. Because, they just haven't. How many times has Brandon Finney been thrown at this year? I can't even picture him defending a pass.
Let me pull that up. Actually, Eric Scopel tweeted something about this yesterday.
It's just crazy how
through five games, Finney has been targeted 11 times. He's given up 2 receptions for 15 yards. Iffy has been targeted 9 times. He's given up 4 receptions for 62 yards.
Wild. Yeah. So it's going to be, it's just, you got young DBs this is their first real test, and you got an Indiana offense that can move the ball. Mendoza's playing well. He'll test you with his legs a little bit. I know he's right up there with Dante getting a lot of buzz as an NFL guy. So, yeah, excited for the matchup. 12:30 Autzen, should be good weather. Can't wait.
Yeah, then I just see what Indiana did or didn't do against Iowa, and that kind of brought me back down to earth again. Because after seeing them against Illinois, it's like, oh my God, this is going to be an insane game at Autzen. And then them struggling a little bit with Iowa to pull away. That calmed some nerves for me.
I think they'll be ready to go. Coming off a bye. They know. I think you trust Cignetti. They know all the talk about them is
totally.
Indiana coming off of last year. This is their real opportunity. If you compete late and or win this game as Indiana, you shut up a lot of people real quick. So totally. I think they'll know that opportunity and they'll be ready to go.
You got anything else before we get out of here?
Nope. I think let's end it there.
Let's do it. Again, just another reminder, if you're listening to this, check out Jeff Schwartz' Ducks Rising Film Room. That dropped earlier today. I know that as soon as we hang up, Travis and I will probably key that up and start watching right away. That should be a good one. And then also Ducks Rising Alumni Corner later this week with Kenyon Barner. That should be a lot of fun. Jeff's Film Room, just so you know, is for subscribers only. Like I said earlier, if you did not get the memo, we're going to release a teaser out on YouTube and social media for you guys. But for the whole thing, head over to ducksrising.com to become a member. Remember that 97% of all proceeds are going back to the athlete in the form of NIL, so it truly is your best way to contribute to the team and help Dan Lenny bring a championship to Eugene. You can check us out on YouTube. You can find Ducks Rising Podcast on Apple or Spotify. If you'd be so kind, give us a rating and a review. Help us build this thing one step at a time. That really helps. You can follow me on social media at Zachary C. Neel. You can follow Travis at Travis Rooke-Ley. But again, most importantly, go over to Lockerverse and check out Ducks Rising. Subscribe now and support the program. Let's rise together. We will talk to you guys next week.